How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Blue Shifting, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. I'll be crying. It's coming. It's already here. It's getting really weird. So we got the very culty implementations. We have all the tools. We have the history. We have even good possible explanations for some of like the more tangible, what feels more realistic history. I'm still like on the side of the crazy cult, but it was fun reading some of your comments about like your thoughts, either kind of what your theories were at this stage that you can recall, or just kind of your thoughts about the story so far in general. It's also fun hearing about so many of you enjoying how, as you've read ahead and finished the series or remembered the series and are now looking for the signs that you can kind of see already being foretold here. It's really cool to know that like it's being almost like a second look through the series and what you've been seeing so far, and being able to see through the kind of the veil of mystery that's there so far that I can't pierce yet, but you can see from the other side. That's neat to know that is such a fun experience for you. So I'm gonna do that. So Watanagashi is done. The target is thoroughly painted on our backs, and here comes the beginning of the end. We'll see how this all plays out now. Oh, my soul. This isn't going to be fun. Let's continue. Let out a great big yawn. It was like morning had just arrived. I'd arrived just as I got to sleep. As Mom set up breakfast, she gave me a pained smile.
どうしたの、ケイチ。昨夜は何時に寝たの？
12時には寝たつもりだけど、昨日はなんだか寝つきが悪くてさ。
お祭りではしゃぎすぎて興奮して眠れなかったんでしょ。
違うよ。
What's with those eating noises? I crunched down hard on the pickled radish to hide my embarrassment. After all that happened yesterday, our discussion about the sound Shion heard, that big banging noise like a child far away jumping up and down on a wooden floor. The story wouldn't get out of my head, so I had trouble sleeping. It was a long night, and I just kept jumping at the slightest sounds of faraway tree branches, which should have been either unhearable or too insignificant to notice. When I woke up to the morning sunlight and birds chirping, it made me feel pretty ashamed about it, but I felt far from refreshed this morning.
Keiichi-kun! Ohayo!
Here it goes.
あれ？ケイチ君目が真っ赤だよ。どうしてだろう？
おはよう。どういうわけか寝つきが悪くてな。そんなわけで今日は寝不足だ。
I feel that.
昨日のお祭りは楽しかったね。レナも興奮がなかなか冷めなくて、なかなか寝れなかったんだよ。
In Rena's case, her excitement seems to still be wide awake.
こういうお祭りが何度もあればいいのにね。
Sure, yeah, let's have more of these.
またみんなで大盛り上がり。はう？
まあ、そうだな。
Oh, clicked early. Rena talking about the festival yesterday made me remember everything I'd nearly forgotten from last night. The inside of the ritual storehouse had been so utterly different from the relaxed, bright, everyday life of Hinamizawa. All those stories that Takano-san told me too. The mysterious incidents that occurred on the day of the Watanagashi festival every year. The strange incidents where one person would die and one would disappear. The old stories of Hinamizawa flickering like a candle behind them. The numerous and horrifying traditions of Onikakushi village. The villagers with demon blood in them. The terrible cannibalistic feasts. The poor sacrifices kidnapped from human villages, victims of the Onikakushi. To quell the rage of the Yorishiro-sama, the ritual involving living sacrifices. There were also many, many others. There were so many stories that just remembering them put me in a foul mood. Most of them weren't fiction either, they were true. We didn't need to fear them just because they were real though. Since it all happened so long ago. Such a very long time ago. Couldn't possibly be happening now.
みーちゃん遅いね。
Before I realized it, we'd arrived at the place where we'd usually meet with Mion. Probably because I was so lost in thought.
この時間になっても来ないときは先に行ってもいい約束になってるんだけど、どうする？
Mion being late wasn't too rare an occurrence, but today she was unusually late. A few of the ominous tales from the night before came back to life in my mind again. Who would die this year and who would disappear? It couldn't have been Mion.
どうするかな、ケイチ君。もう行かないと遅刻になっちゃうかも。
来るよ。学校休むって電話があったわけじゃないだろ。もう5分待ってみようぜ。な。
Rena looked at her watch and seemed a little worried, but then she nodded with a satisfied smile. If we had to wait 5 minutes, we'd have to run as fast as we could to school or we'd be late. As soon as I thought that, we spotted Mion running toward us out of breath.
みーちゃん
Thank goodness.
遅い遅い
待っててくれたわけ？先に行っちゃってもよかったのに。
Mion was breathing heavily and her face was all red. Our house was right down the road, wasn't it? It wasn't far enough away for her to end up like this, was it?
みーちゃん、ひょっとして具合悪くない？
Yeah, so that almost sounds like she came from somewhere different from her house, or this could be Shion. I don't know, I can't trust who she is anymore. It could be flip-floppy anytime. Huh? Now that she mentioned it. Rena pushed Mion's bangs away and put her head to her forehead.
レナの手、冷たいな。
Uh-oh.
みーちゃん、ちょっとだけど熱あるよ。
そんな大したことないよ。半日もすればケロッと治っちゃうって。
本当に大丈夫かよ。
Shouldn't play around with being sick.
あまり無理するなよ。
あれ、ケイちゃん、気遣ってくれるの？嬉しいな。
That answer wasn't like Mion at all. She must have had it pretty bad.
無理しない方がいいと思うな。先生にはお休みだって伝えとくよ。
大丈夫大丈夫。風邪薬も飲んだし、すぐに効いてくると思うから。
Mion forced an energetic expression on her face and flexed her bicep at us.
じゃあ行こうか。くれぐれも無理するなよ。って言いながら、時間。
走らないと、間に合わない。
スリリングな朝になっちゃったね。鈍った体にはちょうどいいカツかもね。走ろ。
Oh boy. Hey, what? You're sick! Don't go overboard! Mion began to run vigorously away.
みーちゃんだって最上級生だよ。自分の体のことは自分で一番よくわかってるよ。
That doesn't mean nothing. I decided to leave it at that and assume she was fine.
よし、俺たちも行こうぜ。
We begin to run after Mion. The school looked the same as always. The hours passed lidlessly, and my lack of sleep took its toll. If there was a sport where people competed by sleeping, I'd be a world champion right now. The trick to overcoming this sort of dangerous situation was to hold your pencil upside down. Why, you ask? So you don't draw strange patterns all over your notes while half asleep. If you were holding your pencil upside down, that wouldn't happen, would it? Bump, bump, bump. Bump, bump, bump. Something that felt like an eraser hit me in the head 6 times.
あ、いてててて。何しやがる、サトコ。
私は何もしてないでございますわ。
Oh, right. Likely story.
お前以外にこんないたずら誰がするんだよ。あ、消しゴムじゃなくてチョークか。え？
Oh. Behind me, like a female outlaw might hold razors, was the teacher's shadow holding 3 pieces of chalk in each hand. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Uh-oh.
前原くん、お顔を洗ってらっしゃい。
はい。喜んで。
That alone was enough to wake me up, but I flew out into the hallway as I was shoved out by the pressure exuded by the teacher's sheer power. If I was going to wash my face anyway, then I would rather use the sinks out in the front rather than the ones in the dark restroom. Thinking that, I left the hallway and went to the entrance. Is this how he's gonna get cornered by the police? The sunlight was strong. So strong you wouldn't think it was June. I turned the faucet and with lifeless bubbling noise, lukewarm water came pouring out. If I let it run for a few moments, would it get cold? I looked at it absent-mindedly for a little while.
やっぱケイちゃんはこっちの流しを選んだか。
Yeah, things are definitely feeling different this time. That's the thing. It's like, so, I guess, like, no one's been overt, which is good because I'm probably going to discover it, but, like, some of the implication from reading between some of the lines in the comments is implied that, like, what we're not seeing is a simple retelling of events, but almost like an alternate version of way things are going to play out. And this one's probably going to be Mion focused rather than Rena focused. So, curious to see how it's all going to happen.
表の方が気分いいもんね。
ミオンか。授業サボるなよな。
I stuck my hands into the water to find it had gotten so cold it seemed strange it had ever been warm. I scooped it up and splashed it against my face. Once it was done, I moved out of the way, and Mion did the same.
ミオン、具合の方はいいのかよ。眠いのは寝不足じゃなくて、薬の副作用なんだろ？
Look at that. See, I see that face. That is a Mion face, but I'm now more associating that with Shion.
実は内緒なんだけど、昨日はお祭りの後で親族の宴会に巻き込まれちゃってさ。
Oh, yeah, party. The party. It happened to be a missing person, right?
それで、実はエンドレスに突入しちゃって。
A bit? A bit? She made a gesture like she was tilting a cup into her mouth. Which means you didn't have a cold or anything.
つまり、本当に寝不足なのかよ。
Dang.
徹夜明けならそうと言え、紛らわしい。
勘弁してよ。体調が悪いのは本当なんだからさ。
I suppose she'd be feeling lousy either way. Still, you treat colds and hangovers in completely different ways.
心配して損したぞ。たく、ミオンらしいというかなんというか。
Mion scratched her head, a little embarrassed. She didn't seem to be feeling well, but now that I knew there was a hangover, I didn't need to worry too much. It would go away with time after all.
でも頭がガンガンするのは本当。だからさ、さっき先生に早退していいって言われちゃった。
Aw.
あ、ずるいやつ。じゃあミオンはもうこれで帰りなのか？
Now that I looked again, Mion had her bag with her. She must have been on her way home.
申し訳ないけどね。
Yeah, I get that. There's no reason to feel bad for it, but, you know, I get it.
今日は家でおとなしく寝させてもらうわ。部活できなくて申し訳ないね。今日はケイちゃんがリーダーってことでやってくれない？
Leader?
多分無理だと思うぜ。俺たち、部活は全員揃った時しかやらないっていう暗黙の了解があるだろう。ミオンがバイトに行ってる時はいつもそのままお開きだったんだぜ。
Mion laughed wryly, saying we didn't need to worry about her. No matter how much fun we have, though, I think the feeling guilty about friends who can't share in it is a sign of a really fantastic friendship. In that sense, the club Mion has created is a wonderful thing. As I thought about it, the moisture on my washed face dried up. I suppose we were talking too much. If I didn't get back to the classroom soon, I could get in trouble.
じゃあな。俺は教室に戻るぜ。帰りは気をつけろよ。ふらふらして速攻や用水路に落ちるなよ。
I left it at that, turned around, and started to head back to the classroom.
そうそう、ケイちゃん。
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Mion stopped me. I turned my head to listen.
なんだ？
変なこと聞くけど、深く考えないで答えてね。
Oh boy.
そりゃ内容によりけりだな。
昨日の綿流しの晩さ、富武さんと高野さんに会わなかった？
And the way you're saying that, it's like, very weird. I suddenly tensed up.
富武さんと高野さんはわかるよね。ほら、ケイちゃん、お祭りの前日準備の時、シオンと一緒に4人でお話ししてたでしょ？
Right. If I could, I wanted to forget about sneaking into the storehouse at night as soon as possible. So hearing the names of the people I was with at the time really got to me. Besides that, though, why was Mion asking me a question like that? I ended up staring at her, unable to answer immediately. Was she asking if I'd seen them or not, or was she asking the question knowing that I had? I couldn't tell.
さあ、どうかな。会ったような、会わなかったような。
My vague response was clearly not to Mion's liking. What answer was she expecting from me? There's no way for me to know.
そう。
Oh, fetch.
じゃあもう一つ質問ね。同じく夕べ、シオンに会わなかった？
Yeah. My heart leapt into my throat again. The tiny needles buried underneath Mion's words pricked into me. Oh, don't bring up needles.
それ、昨日も聞いたよな。俺、あったかどうかわからないって答えたと思ったぜ。
そうだっけ？また改めて聞いたら違う答えが返ってくるかなって思ってさ。
Oh, hi. I suddenly noticed something about Mion's eyes, something indescribable. Tomitake-san and Takano-san. Shion, too. She was asking me about them. There was no doubt about it. Last night, the four of us snuck into the ritual storehouse. She knew everything. So what? There's not really any curse, anyway. That's right. Even Shion and Takano-san said that yesterday during the festival that there was no curse. And that rather than a curse, it was the doing of the villagers. My blood curled. Mion was, almost without a doubt, aware that we snuck into the storehouse. It was nothing strange. I screwed up bad flipping on the light switch last night. If Mion had been searching for me, it was simple to imagine that she had seen that momentary light and come to find out what was going on.
本当に会ってないんだね。
どうしてあったかどうかをそんなに気にするんだよ。
大したことじゃないの。富武さんと高野さんと悪く言ってる人たちがいるの。
Oh. People, huh? I wonder who those people are.
何が悪いんだかはよく聞いてないんだけどね。
Unpleasant sweat dripping down my arms, and the sound of it hanging from my fingertips was so annoyingly loud.
私、ケイちゃんが悪いことをするなんて信じてないから。でも、ちょっとだけ聞いてみたかったから聞いてみたの。不愉快な思いをさせてごめんね。
I found myself unable to reply. My reaction must have made it obvious what the truth was, and yet I couldn't explain myself.
ケイちゃんは、富武さんとも高野さんとも、そしてシオンとも一緒じゃなかった。
Oh, interesting. So, like, instead of feeling super vindictive about it, it's almost like she's trying to instruct us. Like, she's being vague about it, but on purpose, but she's saying, like, hey, you weren't with them. Like, that's what you need to be saying very clearly from here on out, that you were not with them.
そうだよね。
Yeah. Yeah. I finally wrung out an answer between ragged breaths. Mio's expression softened a little.
よかった。私言っとくね。ケイちゃんは何にも悪いことには加わってないって。みんなにちゃんと言っておくからね。
Yeah, please do. Tell them I wasn't doing anything bad. To everyone. Make sure. Everyone. Everyone. Who is everyone?
じゃあね。明日は元気になってるから。
Yeah, this the cult core that she was meeting with.
バイバイ。
Oh boy. Oh boy. Wait, Mion. What do you mean by everyone? Just then, a freezing cold hand touched the back of my neck.
こら、遅いですよ、前原くん。顔を洗うだけなのに時間がかかりすぎです。
It was the teacher. I was taking so long, she came out to get me.
すみません。ついミオンとおしゃべりを。
I turned around, but Mion had crossed through the schoolyard without me realizing it, was now standing at the gate.
さ、お勉強に戻りますよ。早く早く。
The teacher was being insistent. We returned to the entrance. I looked back one more time, saw Mion was nowhere in sight.
Keiichi, 今日はずっと元気がないのです。
Oh yeah.
昨日大はしゃぎしすぎたからに違いありませんわ。
Fun's the word.
迷子になって目を真っ赤にさせて半泣きしてたやつに言われたくねえ。
ゆうべのさとこちゃん、可愛かったよ。はう。
My friends did their best to try and cheer me up, but it didn't lighten my mood. Was it far worse than I thought? Had I really done something that terrible last night? These thoughts remained with me for the rest of the day.
じゃあね、ケイチくん。
God, I hate the abrupt changes.
また明日ね。
By the time I realized it, I was in front of my own house.
みーちゃんも風邪だったみたいだけど、ひょっとしてケイチくんもなのかな
え、大丈夫だよ。こう見えても風邪で休んだことはないんだぜ。
でも、みーちゃんもケイチくんも、 今日は具合が悪そうだし。
気にしてくれてありがとな。大丈夫。バカは風邪ひかないんだぜ。
Rihanna smiled and waved at me and left. Whew. With my shoulders bobbing up and down from breathing heavily, I entered the house. As soon as I got back in, Mom called out to me.
何？
ケイチ、悪いんだけど図書館に行って本を返してきてくれない？
めんどくさいな。
お父さんも母さんも今ね、ちょっと電話待ちをしてるところで家を開けられないの。
Right.
返却期限も今日までだし、お願いできない？
Sheesh. Did it have to do with Dad's job? No point in arguing if they bring it up.
仕方ないな。でも俺、図書館がどこにあるか知らないよ。
あら、知らないの？沖宮の駅前をちょっと進んで。
Just then the phone rang. My parents' faces immediately turned grim. Mom snatched up the receiver.
もしもし、前原です。はい？はい、おりますけど。
Uh-oh. Then she thrust the receiver at my face.
圭一に電話よ。早めに終わらせてね。
I tried to ask who it was from, but asking the person on the phone directly would be faster.
もしもし。
園崎の妹の方です。
Okay.
こんにちは。今はお時間大丈夫ですか？
It was Shion. The older sister had a hangover today, but the younger made no reference to it.
シオンか。ミオンと同じで、今日は徹夜明けで寝込んでるんじゃないかと思ったぜ。
それじゃあおね、今日はずる休みですか？おねらしい。
They laughed warmly, but Mion glared at me, silently telling me to finish. Mom glared at me, not Mion. What am I doing? I'm seeing things? What the fetch was that? Mom glared at me, silently telling me to finish up.
ごめんな。ちょっと親が電話待ちをしてるんで、そんなに長話はできないんだ。何の用だ？
お話ししたいことがあったんですけど、長電話が無理じゃ仕方ないですね。
She sounds a little disappointed. What would Shion want to talk to me about? Now I was interested.
じゃあさ、会って話をしないか？ついでに図書館にも案内してもらえるとありがたい。
図書館って駅前の私立図書館ですか？別にいいですよ。バイトのついでってことで。
じゃあ、いつもミオンと待ち合わせてる場所わかるか？園崎家の小道に分かれる分岐の。
あ、ケイちゃん言ってませんでしたっけ？私本家じゃなくて沖宮の家に住んでるんですよ。だから待ち合わせ場所は沖宮駅の改札前なんかにしてくれた方が嬉しいんですけど。
Main house? Living in Okinomiya? Now that she mentioned it, it always seemed like the Sondozuki sisters weren't communicating. Did they live in different houses? They said this, right? Like, I'm not crazy. I swear they've mentioned this like at least twice now. That Mion lives here in town with the grandmother, and Shion lives in Okinomiya with like the actual like main like mom and dad house. And now that she mentioned it, Rena said they never met the younger sister despite going over to play sometimes.
じゃあ、駅に集合な。すぐに行くよ。じゃあ。
I set the receiver down, and Mom immediately thrust a large pile of library books in my face. 6 volumes of long-form mystery novels. Mom had her own hobbies.
ケイチ、よろしくね。お夕飯までには帰るのよ。
じゃあ行ってくれよ。
I supposed I'd change my clothes and grab my bike key. I climbed the stairs to my bedroom. Shion had been waiting for me already, so meeting up was a smooth process.
ミオンと違って、シオンは待ち合わせ時間を守るな。しみじみ。
おねを標準にされるといろいろと困ります。
Yeah, I also think you need to stop comparing them every time you see them. Huh? Shion seemed a little unsteady too. She was drinking with Mion last night, wasn't she?
お前も昨夜は寝てないんだろ？隠しても無駄だぞ。で、学校を早退したに違いない。
残念でした。私はそもそも今日はずる休みしてますので。私、おねより容量いいですから。
Hey, I don't think you can play hooky smarter.
じゃあ、先に用事を片付けます？時間もそんなにないですから、図書館へ行くんですよね。
ああ、頼むよ。お袋の借りてる本の返却期限が、図書館は遠いのか？
すぐ近くですよ。
Alright, to the library. As she said that, we spotted a signboard for the library almost immediately. If it was this easy to find, then I guess I didn't need Shion to show me where it was after all. We rode around the bend and the building was right there. Shishibone Public Library. lived in the country, so hadn't expected too much, but it was pretty big. The first floor is actually a government office, so the library was only on the second floor, but it still looked large enough to fit a decent collection of books. That's good. Libraries are important. We passed through the automatic doors and were greeted by a cool breeze of breeze of an air curtain. The cicadas had been loud outside, but it was quiet inside the library. The air conditioning inside was keeping the temperature at an ideal level for the books, which had that mildewy smell unique to old paper.
どこの図書館も似たようなもんだな。
If there was one difference, it was the people studying for tests weren't taking up all the seats. I was one of those people, but now that seemed like a distant memory.
すみません、返却に来ました。
The librarian went through the process of checking them in and then returned my mom's library card. Shion was going about the bookshelves with a deeply interested look on her face. Like
悪いな、お待たせ。
No! I clicked early. Shion was going around the bookshelves with a deeply interested look on her face like she wasn't the type who went to libraries very often.
終わったよ。
図書館って涼しくていいところですね。私、将来は図書館で働きたいです。
地味というか堅実というか、姉と比べると随分とささやかな希望だな。
Stop comparing them. Mion would definitely want to be a hardworking employee for an industrial trading company or some other crazy job that involved her running all over the world. Compared to that, what Shion said was pretty heartwarming.
まあ、互いの持ち味を大切にしたいですよね。私たち、分身じゃなくて、シオンとミオンというちゃんとした個人なんですから。
Yep, having known twins, that is it is a problem. People just kind of see them as two peas in a pod, not two different people that just happen to look a lot alike.
双子は双子なりにいろいろと考えてるんだな。でも楽しそうだよな。俺には兄弟はいないから、うちには俺以外は親しかいない。窮屈なもんだよ。
私だってそうです。お姉とは一緒に住んでるわけじゃないですから。
Oh, right. She said something about that, didn't she? Yes! Like 3 times now. Why, though? Sisters living apart is unusual. We were getting tired of talking while we were walking. We ended up going to a lounge area which was vacant and continued the conversation.
え、お姉は本家に。私は沖宮の家に住んでるんです。
本家ってなんだ？随分と立派な響きがあるけどな。
本家は本家です。園崎家の本家。お姉は跡取りだから、バッチャと一緒に住んで、いろいろと当主としての修行をさせられてるみたいです。
Alright, so she's the successor to the cult, basically. Mion, the head of the family. Kind of fit her personality, but kind of didn't too.
ケイちゃんは引っ越してきたばかりでしたよね。自分で言うのもなんですけど、園崎家ってここいらじゃ結構名士なんですよ。
The old families. Makes sense.
本当かよ。
The word personage didn't really match the extreme sociable air that Mion and Shion gave off. From what Shion explained, the Sonozaki family goes way back to the beginnings of Hinamizawa. After the war, they had a bunch of successful ventures and extended their influence to a wide area.
園崎家はですね、親族全体で助け合う土壌があるんです。今の当主のバッチャが築き上げたんですけどね。
The entire family would provide backup to help one relative with a business venture. They were like a huge living company. This let them avoid tax-related problems and helped relative ventures succeed one after another using large amounts of money. Huh,
沖
sounds...
宮の街を歩くことがあったら、看板とかを意識してみてください。園崎の親族が経営しているお店ってとても多いんですよ。
Yeah, it almost is like sounding like a miniature mafia too.
言われてみれば、例のおもちゃ屋も親類の人が経営してるみたいだったな。そういえば、エンジェルモートも親類の人が経営してるんじゃないのか？
Even when a few shops I was familiar with were involved with the Sonozaki family. It was definitely surprising.
特に金融不動産関係は強いですね。あと商工会議所の役員も何割かは園崎姓かその親類がついてます。
Dang, that's kind of weird. Like, I get maybe like having trade keep it a family, but to make it so like inherent to be like, oh yeah, we all just are good at it. It's like that doesn't make any sense really. The only reason to be good at it is because from a young age you're giving them experience and exposure and also helping them have contacts that allows them to have that leg up, which is kind of what like the benefit of like, you know, Ivy League schools or private schools, like going to the best private schools is about. It's like it's not like the education there's any better. In fact, there's a lot of studies that show that in a lot of cases it's worse. Unless like you're specifically targeting an accelerated program in a private school, it's basically the same education, but you bump heads, rub shoulders, and get to meet people who give you insights into it. It's not because you're smarter or more brilliant. It's because who you know is almost more important than anything else. So putting people in situations where they can meet other people who are also influential in large industries and meeting families that are already well established can give you that leg up that other people wouldn't be able to have access to.
沖宮一帯を評伝に市議会議員と県議会議員にも園崎がいますし。
ちょっと待て。なんだかすごい話になってきたぞ。
Her relatives operated shops in downtown Okonomiya, and they're especially strong in finance and real estate. On top of that, a lot of those in the Chamber of Commerce and Industry are relatives, and there are even people elected to local offices.
ひょっとして園崎家ってこの辺り一帯じゃすごいんじゃ。
Wow, that's the most boiled down summary ever.
ねえ。
Oh, Fetch, hi.
すごいんです。
Why are you just here? All of a sudden, a cigarette-smoking, overweight old man interrupted our conversation. Wait, I know this guy.
どうも、こんにちは。今日はデートですかな？羨ましいですね。
そうだと思ったら邪魔しないでほしかったですね。
Uh-huh.
大石さん。
That was it. He was Ooishi, the Ooishi-san, the police officer. I thought this was the person who came to my rescue when I got involved in those delinquents before. Now that I thought about it, Mion didn't seem to like him very much.
いえいえ、すみません。知ってる声が聞こえてきたので、ついつい。
Ooishi-san laughed coarsely, not showing any signs of giving up. As Shion watched him do so, I didn't feel the same sense of malice from her as I had from Mion.
前原さんでしたよね。あなたもタフな人ですね。園崎姉妹を二股かけるなんて。
No.
いや、そんな二股だなんて。
I turned around to look at Shion and plead for help, but she grinned and maintained her silence. Her gaze wandered. She looked at the clock.
ごめんなさい、ケイちゃん。私、もうバイトの時間なんです。
そうなのか？
Wait, didn't Shion have something to talk about today? Not this weird man's here, though.
また今度。バイトが終わったら電話します。夜なら電話大丈夫ですよね。
ああ、大丈夫だと思う。
じゃあ、今夜電話しますので、その時に。
Okay.
じゃ。
Shion left so fast she was practically running. Ooishi-san was waving at me with a grin. I felt like I'd been left here as bait so she could get away. Maybe she was lying about having to go to work? Nah, I doubt it. I just think it's
園崎のご令
convenient.
嬢とこれだけ親しくできるなんて。まあ、私も口の利き方を改めた方がいいかもしれません。
Oh boy. Ooishi-san put a coin into a vending machine as he said something a bit appalling.
アイスティーでいいですか？ミルクは入れます？
いえ。
じゃあ入れますよ。
Okay.
はい、どうぞ。
He handed me a cup of tea filled to the brim with ice. Looked unabsent-mindedly. I don't think I'm obligated to have a guy like this buy me a drink, but he did get it for me, so I'll thank him. Was Ooishi-san just killing time? We didn't know each other very well, but he still engaged me in conversation about all sorts of dumb things. When I thought back to how I talked with Shion, it seemed like a total disaster.
前原さんは園崎さんのことをどれくらいご存知で？
さっき聞いた以上のことは何も。
Until then, I hadn't known anything about either Mion or Shion other than the fact that they were interesting. I really did only just learn that she was the daughter of some prestigious family.
園崎家はこの地域一帯を牛耳ってる。
Okay, so they are calling
ヤクザ
them...
屋さんです。
He calls them a Yakuza. That's interesting. And it's funny too because like my impression of the Yakuza, which is very much not based in reality, I'm sure, because it comes from just hearsay and then the Yakuza games, which obviously won't be. But I thought Yakuza was... Okay, so Yakuza is basically mafia. And it's interesting because mafia is family-based, but others can join. It's like... It's an organization that has a core that's family, but it doesn't necessarily have to stay family. You can kind of be adopted into it in a way, organizationally. But this one, the Sonozaki family, I imagine, is more of an actual family. But yeah, Yakuza is probably the right name for it.
ちなみに彼女のお父さんは関東でも有名なヤクザの大幹部さんです。
Okay, but they're saying that her father's like legitimately involved in Yakuza.
ご存知でした？
Well, yeah, what?
大幹部って。
シオンさんのご自宅をご存知ないんですか？高い塀に有刺鉄線と監視カメラで守られた典型的なヤクザの組長宅ですよ。
Oh, dang.
今度ぜひ遊びに行ってみてください。
She'd mentioned Mion being a successor, but to a Yakuza group?
いえ、まさか。園崎ミオンさんが継ぐのはそんなちんけなヤクザ組織だけじゃありません。彼女が継ぐのは園崎家そのものですよ。そのあたりの意味。ちょっと噛み締めていただけますかな。
She inherits the family, not just the Yakuza. So, is that meant to be a loyalty thing? Part of like the cult, ultimately, is the family, maybe? Maybe that's the core of the cult and part of the reason why it's so successful at keeping everything hush-hush. The Sonozaki family, maybe they're the ones that claim direct heritage from the demons, and the village is meant to kind of toe the line with them. Maybe that's it? Ooishi-san had spoken lightly about this from the start to finish, but what he was saying wasn't light in the least. It was abrupt and unbelievable.
ミオンさんがその気になれば、往来の真ん中で人殺しをしたってもみ消せちゃうかもしれないんですよ。
That's freaking terrifying that you just could flat out say that, Mr. Policeman.
証人は現れないだろうし、警察にだって圧力をかけられますし。
ミオンは人殺しなんかしないぞ。
しません、ものの例えですよ。
大石さんでしたっけ？名前。
ねえ、そうです。
大石さん、ミオンの家が何だろうと、ミオンは俺の誇れる最高の友人です。それをあまりけなすような言い方は好きになれないですね。
Nice. Good answer. I let my quiet anger show through my gaze as I stared at him. Of course, I could never seem to tell what he was thinking, so I don't know if it had any effect.
ではざっくばらんに、そのミオンさんにいくつかの事件の嫌疑がかかっているとしたらどう思います？
Okay, I see what he's trying to say. This is him trying to say that we might be targeted. Suspected. Incidents? You can't just say terrible stuff like that on a whim.
何かの誤解に決まってるじゃないですか。ミオンは物騒なことを言うやつだけど、そんな悪いことをするようなやつじゃない。
前原さん、お静かに。ここ、図書館ですから。
Ooishi-san shushed me, but in a state of heightened excitement as I was, I wouldn't be calmed so easily.
落ち着いてください。さっきも申し上げました通り、園崎家はいい意味でも悪い意味でも、この辺り一帯で強い力を持っているんです。ですから、ちょっと何かあるとすぐに疑いがかかってしまう。その辺りをご理解いただきたいのですよ。
Well, I know what Ooishi-san's trying to say. Combining it with that Shion told me before, the Sonozaki family is huge and controls everything from Hinamizawa to Okinomiya. Mion, meanwhile, is its successor, who apparently holds strong influence over the entire family. Still, that's all? The only reason they're suspecting her?
ですから、私だって仕事で仕方なくやってるんです。ミオンさんを疑うためでなく、ミオンさんの疑いを晴らすために捜査をしている。そうお考えいただきたいのです。
Right. He could talk a dog out of a meat truck. He was the definition of shrewd, unfair adult. At this point, I began to think that it was no coincidence I'd met him. What? There's like weird bells chiming now? Like, that kind of freaked me out because the track is very repetitive. Why did it suddenly do that? That was... Ugh.
大石さん、ひょっとして俺に用なんですか？
ねえ、そうですよ。前原圭一さん。
He answered in an absent tone of voice.
何かの事件でミオンを疑っていて、その友人の俺に何か聞きに来た。そういうことですか？
いえ、違います。 私は園崎美音さんの友人と話をしに来たのではなく、
Uh-huh.
前原圭一さんに話をしに来たのです。
It's just a coincidence then, huh?
ご自宅にお伺いしたらご迷惑でしたでしょうからね。
So you followed me?
俺に警察が何の用だって言うんですか？
Having realized this fake coincidental meeting had me as its target, my mood immediately turned foul.
そんなに構えなくて大丈夫ですよ。肩を楽にして。
それって職務質問ってやつですか？
偶然知り合ったおじさんとの世間話ってことにしましょう。
Ooishi-san freely suggested that I relax. That said, behind his eyes was a light which I could only see sometimes that was sharp as a hawk. If I tried in vain to run away, he might actually take me in and bring me to an interrogation room or something. That was an undoubtedly unpleasant thought.
昨夜は渡長市のお祭り、盛大で楽しかったですね。
はぐらかさないでください。今さら世間話なんかされても。
昨日の渡長市の晩、富武二郎さんと高野美代さんにお会いしませんでしたか？
It sucks that people keep asking this. Gulp. I could plainly feel myself give a start.
あれ、写真はどこに行っちゃったかな？ああ、あったあった。
He opened a small notebook and removed 2 photographs. I didn't have to look.
さあ、どうでしょう。あったような、合わなかったような。
I was asked the same question for a second time today. I gave the same answer for the second time too.
あれ？記憶が曖昧ですか？まさか、アルコールが入っててよく覚えてないなんてのはなしにしてくださいよ。
Here too, I got the same answer I had from Mion. I realized he wasn't taking my vague reply well. Why is he asking me the same thing Mion did? The dark feeling I had nearly forgotten due to my conversation with Shion came rushing back in a hurry. We snuck into a sacred ritual storehouse, a punishable act. It was on a tiny impulse. While it may not count for much now, I do feel sorry about it.
もう一度お聞きしますよ。
He got serious.
夕べのお祭りで、富武二郎さんと高野美代さんにお会いしませんでしたか？
His tone was soft, but there was dreadfulness in his voice, clearly different from the first time he tasked. I'm scared. That was exactly how I felt.
と、繰り返し聞かれても、答えはさっきと同じです。
I didn't really remember. There wasn't any better answer I could give him. I didn't have any balls to say I didn't see them, nor the courage to admit I had.
そうですか。改めて聞けば、さっきとは違う答えが返ってくるかなと思いましてね。
It's actually a true police tactic. During interrogations, you repeat the questions over and over again, and like you'll do it like right after each other. Like you have them tell their story, and you say, "You know what? I missed some of those details. Can we start back again?" And you get them to repeat it over and over. Then like you'll buffer it maybe by having like after they do it once or twice or 3 times even, you'll like kind of go off a different line of thought and then suddenly go back to that same question again because you're trying to look for inconsistencies. Because that's like when someone lies, often they aren't capable of having a cohesive story. And if you ask the same question, especially asking for different detail, like the same details, but then in different ways or in different orders, or pulling out like a different like type of question to get to the same answer, can throw people off, and like you'll watch their story morph and change. And like it's kind of funny because like you can watch police interrogation videos, but I actually recently saw this. There's the Catch a Predator series with Chris Hansen. Like that stuff came up on my feed recently where like that old show, which needs to come back because it's freaking terrifying that people can so easily it's so easy to trick people into showing up for those kinds of like meetups with children. But one of the things that's interesting is that even in very basic, not in like invasive or aggressive investigation, interrogations or questioning, people, they can't hold to the line. You just ask them the same questions a couple times and they'll just completely unravel. They'll come up with a story, you can immediately disprove it, and it just kind of falls to pieces and people just melt in front of you. So it's a good tactic. It's surprisingly effective and much better than just trying to do like a lie detector test, honestly. You'll get better results from this type of interrogation. I'm too scared to look Ooishi-san in the eyes.
では、質問を変えます。ほら、前原さん、リラックス、リラックス。
Ooishi-san grabbed my shoulders and squeezed them as if trying to give me a massage. It mostly just hurt, though. Still, why would he ask the same things as Mion? If he's asking the same things, the next question must be...
同じく夕べのお祭りなんですが、園崎シオンさんにお会いしませんでしたか?
That is kind of terrifying that it's the exact same questions. It's like, was she trying to warn us? Clatter, clatter, clatter. I wonder what that sound was, and when I looked down, I saw this as the unmelted ice in the cup I was gripping in my hands. My hands were trembling, rocking the ice back and forth. Realizing that, I hastily put the remaining ice in my mouth and crushed down on it.
すみません。あったかもしれないですけど、ほら、ミオンにもそっくりですから、ミオンと見間違えてるかも。
そんなわけはないでしょう。
Suddenly, Ooishi-san grabbed both my shoulders and hunched down to give me a level stare. This must be what it's like to be a deer in the headlights. I wanted to look away, but I can't. This is the first time I've experienced such a piercing stare. Yeah, like, this is a shot right here.
ミオンさんもシオンさんも服装は全然違うんですから、そう簡単に見間違えるはずはありませんよ。前原さん。
His voice was harsh. Harsh, the same way when Mion said it. I could feel my heartbeat quickening. When I realized he could feel it through the hands on my shoulders, I got more scared. Why are Mion and Ooishi-san both asking about last night? Was sneaking into that storehouse so bad? Ugh. I shouldn't have let Takano-san talk me into it. Tomitake-san casually said to check it out too, so... Even Shion, if she hadn't encouraged me... No, I understood. I was the one most at fault here. I shouldn't have let my curiosity get the better of me. I shouldn't have gone into the forbidden storehouse.
Oi-san.
Oh, who are you?
ホタルの光っす。
A young man wearing a suit came into the lounge. From the way he held himself, I knew immediately that he was Ooishi-san's subordinate.
あれは本当だ。もう閉館なんですね。
I hadn't realized it until he said something. The jingling announcement telling patrons the library had closed to start playing without me realizing it. I was so irritated, so overwhelmed, I couldn't even hear it.
じゃあ前原君、もうこんな時間なんで私たちは失礼させてもらいます。このお話はもっと時間のある時にのんびりといたしましょう。
This isn't a joke. If I never saw him again, it'd be too soon. Ooishi-san followed his subordinate and left the lounge behind him. However, he spun back around.
そうそう前原さん。
なんですか？
さっきさせてもらった2つの質問ですが、どちらの回答もよく覚えてないでした。
はい。
参考までに、あなた、昨日全員にお会いしてますよ。
Oh no!
4人で楽しそうに歩いてたじゃないですか。
He saw them at the end leaving the shack.
石段のところで、私がこの目で見てますから。
I caught my breath and my heart seemed like it was about to stop. What a detestable person. He knew and he was testing me.
ではまたお会いしましょう。
Interesting. So in the first chapter, he was like really painting himself as an ally. He even like would call us we'd call him on the phone and talk to him about stuff, right? This one, he feels like he's an enemy. Like he's caught us in a lie and now he's going to be hounding us. What a weird change.
良いお年を。
I sat there like a rock, unmoving until I could no longer hear the clacking sound of their footsteps. Dang. That's crazy. What an interesting shift. This really is like really different then. Like super different. I was on my way back home. The cries of the Higurashi accentuated the already lonely evening. More time had passed than I'd thought. The orange of the dusk sky was beginning to chase down little by little into an indigo color approaching from the east. Exhausted from a slow climb toward Hinamizawa, without even noticing I'd gotten off my bicycle and was pushing it uphill. I don't understand any of this. No one had told me to my face that I'd done something wrong. No, in fact, it might have been much easier on me that way. What happened yesterday really was just my curiosity. It really was no more than a quiet prank, no more than having the courage to cross at a red light as long as you did it with other people. The storehouse for ritual implements, hallowed ground, only accessible to the family of the priest. For sure, I'd seen terrifying things that I'd never imagined would be there. Thinking on it now, it didn't matter what this was stored away inside. It didn't make it wrong I'd committed any more right. What the four of us did, Mion seemed to know about it. For some reason, even the police were trying to learn what the four of us did. Did we do something so bad? Really? It doesn't matter how wrong it was. I did something wrong. It was nothing more than that, and yet... couldn't accept it. I couldn't apologize to Mion or Ooishi-san. All I did was shield myself with ambiguities. I did something wrong yesterday. I set foot in a forbidden storehouse for a little bit of mischief. I'll forget everything I saw in there. I won't ever do something like that again either. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. If I apologized like that, would they forgive me? A suddenly cool evening air left no room for such sentiment, however, as it mercilessly chilled my feet, urging me to head home as soon as possible. In the end, the evening air was correct. If I trudged along such an isolated road, regrets would pile on top of regrets, but nothing would change. Let's go home. I'll go home, go to my room, put on my favorite music or something, and go to bed. That might sound plain and boring, but it's possibly the strongest I've felt all day. Now that I've made a decision, there's no point in dawdling in a place like this. I set on my bike. I pushed hard on the pedals. I rapidly advanced forward. I steadily gained speed. The wind was cutting and mercilessly cold, but actually felt good, as if it were softly pushing me. Or punishing me. I didn't eat much dinner before excusing myself early and returning to my bedroom. My mom called me from downstairs.
Keiichi, 電話よ。園崎さんから。
Sonozaki? Was it Mion? No, it was Shion. I just remembered. She'd said she had something she'd wanted to tell me yesterday. Ooishi-san had interrupted us, so she didn't get the chance. Shion had said that she'd call tonight.
もしもし、シオンか。
どうも、今日は災難でしたね。
She said it so plainly that I got a bit annoyed. She was the one who'd left me there and ran.
そんなこと言わないでください。私、ケイちゃんに一緒に逃げようってサインを送ったじゃないですか。なのにケイちゃん、ぼさーっと残っちゃって。
ぼさってことはないだろう。シオンがあっという間に置いてきぼりにしたんで、あの後俺は大石のおっさんにたっぷり付き合わされたんだぜ。
そんなの、私に愚痴られても困ります。
I can't believe she passed it off like that. She looks just like Mion, and yet inside she's this different. I got a little irritated at myself when I realized I was somewhat in my mind hoping for the same reaction I would get from Mion, even though she's a different person.
ああ、悪かったよ。次からはシオンを置いてくぐらいのつもりで真っ先に逃げ出すようにする。
できればレディーファーストでお願いします。
Shion laughed refreshingly. When I heard her voice, I realized that she wasn't really that angry or anything. It was just as she said. The cause of my temper was because it was my own fault for not leaving immediately. I'll stop blaming it on others. Blaming it on others would be...
それより、俺に何か話があるんだろ？
はい。もしも、もう知ってるなら、改めて言うような話じゃないんです。知ってますか？
About... Shion lowered her voice suddenly as if we were glancing around. I had no idea what I could already know.
悪いけど、何のことかさっぱりわからないぞ。
Oh boy.
ヒントくらい出せ。
Oh, is it going to be about the two vanishings?
ってことは、知らないみたいですね。
This is how we find out. She seemed to take my stupid sounding question as evidence. However, her voice didn't sound disappointed or exacerbated in the slightest.
実は、昨日の渡流しのお祭りの晩なんですけど。
My entire body jolted as if I was assailed by a terrible feeling. Is Shion going to ask the same thing?
もしもし、ケイちゃん、聞いてます？
ああ、聞いてる。昨日の晩どうしたんだよ。
私たち4人、入ったじゃないですか。
Oh. This isn't Mion, is it? This isn't Shion, this is Mion. Because this is her getting information. she didn't beat around the bush. Whether or not I wanted to admit it, that was the actual honest truth, and I couldn't act like it hadn't happened.
それでその後、みんなで歩いて、石段のあたりで私たちみんな別れましたよね。
Yeah, no, this is absolutely Mion. Mion is getting information by pretending to be Shion. That absolutely tracks. Oh no.
高野さんたちは沢に行って、ケイちゃんはその場に残って、私は親類の人たちのところに行っちゃって。
ああ、それがどうした？
お互い質問の返し合いになっちゃうと拉致が開かないんで、いいですか？
昨べ、富武さんと高野さんに会いませんでしたか？
え？はい。あの後、あの二人には会いましたか？
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't surprised. This is the third time I've been asked this question today. Why? Why? What the heck was going on?
どうしてだよ。だからどうしてそれを俺に聞くんだよ。
ほらほら、ケイちゃん、質問は私からのはずです。答えてください。
シオンはあったのか？シオンが先に答えたら俺も答える。
My shabby response betrayed how scared and small I felt now after everything that happened today. Shion didn't say anything for a few moments. Just as I was beginning to think I'd really put my foot in my mouth with that response, she finally answered me.
もちろん、一緒にいた親類が証明できます。
俺だって会ってない。証明って言うなら、ミオンとかレナとかみんながしてくれる。
Now that we knew our answers matched, she let out a sigh that sounded more relieved than anything else.
正直に答えてくれて、じゃあ、言いますね。昨べ、高野さんと富武さんが死んだんだそうです。
There it is.
ごめん、シオン。今、なんて言った？
昨べ、高野さんと富武さんが死んだんだそうです。高野さんは焼死体で。
Wait. Oh yeah. She was found burned to death. Interesting. That's really different because she was vanished last time.
富武さんは自殺みたいな感じで。
Okay, so in the first chapter, she vanished and he was found with like the self-clawing. This time it looks like nothing changed for him probably, but she was found after all. Weird.
今朝知ったんです。お父さんが親類の人からの電話で話してるのを聞いて。
Last night, a police car on its way back from the festival security duty had discovered Tomitake-san lying in the middle of the road heading toward Okinomiya. It had clawed out his own throat and died.
なんだよ。喉をかきむしっての自殺って。
There we go.
あの明るそうな富武さんが自殺？何かの間違いだろ？
警察がちゃんと検視したんです。自分の爪でガリガリと喉をかきむしって血管を破いて血をドバドバ出して自分の血で溺れ死んだんだって。
She sounds really freaked out.
そんなバカな自殺聞いたことないぞ。自分の喉をかき破るなんておかしすぎる。
I realized I was yelling too loudly, so I lowered the force I was putting into my voice. I didn't want my parents to hear, so I switched to the cordless phone and ran up to my own room.
大声出してごめん。で、高野さんも自殺なのか？
高野さんは自殺かどうかちょっと。
Takano-san's body was found in the mountains of Gifu Prefecture. Employees at a rest stop nearby reported to police that last night they could see flames in the mountains. The firefighters dispatched there were the first ones to find her. An autopsy concluded that it was the burned corpse of a half-naked female. They initially considered the body beyond recognition, but directly after there was a request for a dental comparison from some prefectural police station in Okinomiya, and the results concluded that it was Mio Takano. The cause of death wasn't confirmed, but was highly likely to have been homicide since she was in her undergarments and her clothes were nowhere in the area. Yeah, that's super sketchy.
灯油管が転がってたそうなんで、焼身自殺の線もあるそうです。
自殺なわけあるものか。同じ死ぬならもっと楽な方法がいくらでもあるだろう。こんなの絶対に自殺なものか。
私だってそう思ってます。富武さんのだって自殺だなんて考えられない。
After the two of us rattled at each other, there was silence as we paused to catch our breaths. And as we calmed our nerves, right then I understood what Shion's story actually meant.
お屋 代様のたたりってことになると思います。私たち、たたられるのに十分な資格がありますから。
資格って、冗談じゃないぞ。別に俺は。
Shion waited to see it with me. I just went along with her. I tried to say that, but I fell silent. Nothing would come from blaming others. It didn't matter how much everyone else encouraged me. I could have put my foot down. I lost to my own half-aid sense of adventure and agreed to go in with them. Yes, it was my fault, no one else's.
シオン、お前は昨夜細工殿の中に忍び込んだらこうなるかもしれないと予想はついてたのか？
まさか、そりゃ多少はやばいとは思いましたけど、こんなことになるなんて夢にも思いませんでした。
Shion's words were probably her true feelings. She knew she could get in trouble if we were caught, but that was the thrill of the little adventure. It was the same for me.
それよりもケイちゃん、ちょっとよく考えてください。今年のお社様のたたりはおかしくないですか？
That's the thing. Yeah, okay. I think I might see where this is going this time. So if it is different, what we have here is essentially one person who died very clearly, and then one person who seemed to have been spirited away, but they didn't try and hide her as well. Almost like she just also died. Almost like they're trying to stage it for it being like, oh, there's still someone who can vanish, right? So maybe the pattern's still gonna play out, or it's supposed to play out. I don't know, it's weird. It was already plenty strange seeing as Tomitake-san and Takano-san died like that. Given all that, what could possibly be stranger?
死体が2つ見つかったってことです。言いましたよね。例年は1人が死んで1人が消えるんです。2人の死亡が確認されたのは今年が初めてです。
Yeah, so maybe two people are gonna vanish now.
確かにそうかもしれないけど、そんなのは大した問題じゃないだろ
う。いいえ、ケイちゃん、もっと真剣に考えてください。いいですか？2人の死がお社様のたたりということになってるなら、お社様の怒りを鎮めるための生贄もまた2人分必要なはずなんです。
Oh, and there's two of us.
そういう理屈になるのか？じゃあなんだよ。富武さんと高野さんが死んだ陰で、今年は2人が行方不明になってるってのか？
Okay, Casey, you're not paying attention here because worst case scenario, no, like best case scenario, not a curse, it's people, right? Is it possible that either of them, under strain and duress, might have said who else went into there with them? There's two other people who also went into that shed, and we're talking right now. I don't understand why, but when I said that, I felt my spine freeze.
まだ誰も行方不明になってないと思います。
Yeah, exactly.
多分、2人が失踪するのはこれからじゃないかと思うんです。
Oh boy. Shion, like me, was obviously getting the same feeling crawling down her back.
これから2人が
Shion
失踪する。
Shion didn't answer. I couldn't say any more than that either. A chill crept through my clothes as I tried to wrap my fist around my heart. Cold hands feeling about my chest. Neither of us could say anything. Tomitake-san opened the lock and he died. Takano-san exposed the ritual storehouse and she died. If two more people were to be sacrificed, then they would be none other than the ones who entered with them. None other than us.
まさか冗談だろ。
I wanted so much for her to pass this off as a joke even now. That, though, was such an incredibly difficult and selfish request. If Tomitake-san and Takano-san had died in a common way like a car accident, I could tell myself it was a coincidence. Instead, he clawed out his own throat and she burned to death, drowned in oil in the mountains. The two deaths were so out of the ordinary I couldn't possibly dismiss it as mere coincidence. It was as if, in exchange for sneaking into the ritual storehouse, there must be someone punishing us, some sort of cruel will working behind the scenes. Even so, I still didn't want to accept that terrifying truth. If I did, then I would have to acknowledge that a horrible crisis was growing near for Shion and I. That's why I argued against it. I argued, knowing I was running away.
大地、そんなの新聞に出てないぞ。そんなに奇怪な事件なら絶対に新聞やテレビで報道するはずだろ。
Stop yelling, dude.
雑誌記者とかだって面白がって大勢来るに決まってる。
I don't know, man. There's the Yakuza.
マスコミに報道されないのは当然なんです。過去にそうだったから。
When an incident occurred 30 years in a row, there's some third-rate magazine that snipped out a story and ran issues of gossip columns about Hinamizawa. Fearing that region would develop a negative stigma, they negotiated with the prefecture and the police. Since last year, it became a big conspiracy where no information about the incidents was allowed to be leaked to the media.
村長とか、あと園崎家出身の金バッジが警察に思いっきり圧力をかけたんだって聞いてます。
And it worked. Remember, Ooishi-san said that, like, he was basically, like, in the first chapter, he was basically being told, like, you're gonna get in trouble if you pursue this anymore. Like, you're about to retire. Like, it's gonna be financially devastating for you if you push this.
じゃあつまり二人の死は秘密裏に処理されてしまったということか。
そういうことです。もちろん警察は捜査をしてますよ。でも秘匿捜査ということなので捜査活動にはかなりの制限が加えられているそうです。
That's so crazy to imagine. Like, such a, like, it must happen in real life, and that's why it comes up in stories like this, but every time it happens, it's like, I can't believe it.
これは事実上の捜査妨害と言えるでしょうね。
This story was unbelievable. People died, and yet they didn't publicize it, deal with everything in secret.
もっと噛み砕いて言うと、綿流しの夜に誰が死んでも公にはならないということです。
That's so messed up.
そんなバカな話があってたまるか。
ケイちゃん、私以前にお社様のたたりは村人が起こしてるかもしれないって言いましたよね。
Yeah, yeah.
つまりそういうことなんです。このHinamizawaでは毎年綿流しの夜にお社様のたたりということにして誰かを殺してもいい土壌がいつの間にか作り上げられているんです。
Yeah, see, that's what I said. That's what I said it was, is that it had started as an idea of a curse, but now it was used as an excuse to kill somebody. When something dies on the night of Watanagashi, it turns into the curse of Oishiro-sama. The curse turns into serial murder incidents. In order to avoid exacerbating the negative stigma surrounding Hinamizawa, those incidents are dealt with in secret.
バカな。毎年死者と行方不明者が出るんだろ。いくらマイナスイメージって言ったって警察にも限度があるだろう。
毎年の事件が不可解って言うなら警察も本腰を入れられるんでしょうけど、何しろ毎年の事件は個別に解決してますので、
Right.
連続事件という形にならないんですよ。
Even though they're all the same day, ritualistically.
たまたま毎年綿流しの晩に不幸なことが起こる。
Yeah, but there's only so many times you can dismiss it like that.
それだけのことに。
That's so messed up. Most of the criminals responsible for the original dismemberment were arrested. The last one managed to get and stay away, but the events were totally exposed and elucidated, so it was, in essence, resolved. The damned supporting couple who died in the accident of the second year, that was an accidental death, plain and simple. They made a lot of investigations into the possibility of it being homicide, but they didn't turn anything up. It ended up as an accident. It was resolved. On the third year, the priest fell ill and passed away. There were doctors present at the hospital at his deathbed, and they all trustworthy medical certificates. But they also were probably all members of the Sonozaki family. They even had an autopsy. It concluded that it wasn't a homicide, that it was resolved too. On the fourth year, the sister-in-law of the dance-supporting couple was murdered. The criminal was an abnormal man with a history of regular psychostimulant urges. He confessed that he thought Oishiro-sama's curse was so interesting he wanted to try it out. The criminal died of an accident while in prison, so this incident was essentially resolved as well. That's right. None of the incidents had any relation to each other. Each was independently resolved.
なのになぜか毎年綿流しの晩に不幸な偶然が起こる。連続事件にしたくても連続にならないんです。それでも毎年必ず誰かが死んで誰かが消えていく。
Now I can see like this is the appeal to the curse angle. The story Takano-san told me the day before the setup, and now that the curse really had occurred this year, it couldn't just laugh it off.
じゃあ俺たちも狙われるっていうのか。毎年一人死ぬと一人が消えるようにTomitakeさんや高野さんの道連れに消えさせられるっていうのかよ。
My lips had at some point become completely dry, and just saying that was difficult. Shion didn't respond. Her silence, however, was the clearest form of confirmation she could give me.
俺たちそりゃ確かに入っちゃいけないところだったかもしれないが見ただけだぜ。何かを盗んだり持ち出したり見たことを誰かに喋ったわけじゃないんだぜ。
I was already regretting having committed such a wrong. Even so, was it really so bad that Tomitake-san and Takano-san deserved such cruel deaths?
第一、俺はあんなの見ても全然面白くなかったし、高野さんが見て一人で大喜びしてただけだろ。悪いのは高野さんだけだよ。俺は全然関係ないぜ。興味もないし関係ないし、あの中にあったものだって知ったことじゃない。
Oh boy. I knew saying it wouldn't solve anything. I could feel myself, my cold self, in my innermost depths of my heart disgusted at my pointless howling. However, my emotions had broken through the dam and I couldn't stop them anymore.
俺はもともと興味なんか全然なかったんだ。リカちゃんの演舞を見ていたかっただけなんだ。それをシオンが勝手に連れ出したんじゃないか。あの二人が泥棒しようが相引きしようがしたことじゃない。そうだよ。そも
Oh,
そ
come
もシオン
on,
が
man.
中に入ろうって言い出したんだ。
That's not fair.
ケイちゃんは見ておく必要があるとかなんとか思わせぶりなことを言って中に引き込んだんだ。
Dude, she's like your only ally right now.
どうしてくれるんだよ。俺は全然関係ないんだぞ。どうすんだよ。どうすんだよ。どうやって責任を取ってくれるんだよ。おい、聞いてる。
Click. Without any warning, the phone cut off with a soft sound of a receiver being slammed down. Shion was just as terrified as I was, and I just said some really self-centered things. My riled up emotions disappeared as if they'd never existed, and in their place surged waves of deep regret at having run my mouth so irresponsibly. Too little too late, bro. Could try to call Shion's name from beyond the disconnected phone, but it was too late. What have I done? Shion was only trying to tell me as much as she could about the thing about to descend upon us. As for me, I could only whine like a child about it. I went to call her back, but then remembered she lived in Okonomiya. I didn't know her phone number. Since I had declared that Mion and I hadn't seen Shion last night, I couldn't just call Mion and ask her for Shion's phone number. I was too scared. Couldn't even call her back. Wait, isn't there like a dial back thing? Like, I can't remember what it was. God, it's like a long time ago. And I never used it, but like there was a way, at least in America, where if you could call back whoever just called you, like it's like a star like combo buttons, and it would send a call right back. But clearly he doesn't know that either. I was stricken with hopeless regret. I returned the receiver to its stand and simply prayed that Shion would call me back again. Please, Shion, calm down and call me again. Ring, 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 ring.
もしもし、前原です。
I swept up the receiver as though it would go through, and if I didn't grab it at the exact moment.
前原さんのお宅でしょうか。夜分遅くに失礼いたします。君吉と申します。
Kimiyoshi, who's that?
ご主人様でいらっしゃいますか。
It was the voice of a girl who clearly wasn't Shion. All my hopes rushed out of me.
いえ、違いますけど、親父に用なら呼んできます。
I went to put the receiver back down, but the caller stopped me hurriedly.
あ、いえいえ、お忙しければ結構なんです。
Who was this?
実は恐縮なんですが、うちのおじいちゃんがお邪魔してませんでしょうか。
Who's that?
いえ、誰も来てませんけど。
そうですか。夜分遅くに申し訳ありませんでした。失礼いたします。
What the fetch is this? Clack. I don't know who that was, but if it was Shion tried to call when I was on the phone, I thought bubbled with egotistic anger. Hey, wait. Give me a break, Keiichi Meribara. Those are the selfish emotions that made Shion mad at me, aren't they? They're more than I thought about it, though. The more I thought about that, Shion had given up hope in a short time since we'd had the conversation and didn't want to call anymore. Calm yourself, Keiichi Meribara. If Shion does call again, the first thing, apologize in a calm voice. If you do that, then Shion should understand. However, no matter how long I waited, the phone didn't ring again that night. Yeah. So who the heck was that? That's a whole new character, isn't it? What the fetch? What is happening? Oh my gosh. Oh, we have three more tips. Cool. Cool. Form an alliance. Yeah. Some alliance. Rip that alliance to frickin' shreds. Alright. Tip number 1 for tonight, Scrapbook VI. From Takano's book. The significance of Watanagashi. Watanagashi, a festival of hunting for sacrifices and feasting on them. While the festival itself is remarkable, it has come to be considered a form of entertainment as well. Perhaps it was because of the disparity between bringing both an erroneous act as a form of entertainment to the perpetrators began to believe themselves transcendent. However, I found some very interesting literature that appears to raise questions about that explanation. As with most oral traditions, it's not easily swallowed, but it does mention a few things that sparked my interest. According to this literature, even the residents of Onikakushi village felt fear toward this ritual. Women and children would grow pale and tremble, those weak constitution would vomit, but said that the feast, the dissection, was an obligatory viewing. This is an extremely curious tale. So everyone was forced to watch, but not directly participate? Until now, I thought that the residents of Onikakushi village were fascinated by the Watanagashi ritual. They looked down on those vulgar barbaric humans, cut them open like fish. And then by eating them, they reaffirmed their own holiness, or at least that's what I thought. However, if what the villagers gained from the ritual was not fascination but fear, then that would suggest the ritual meant something entirely different. There's a possibility that the executions were meant as warnings, encouraging the villagers to strictly follow religious precepts created by those with power for their own convenience. Onikakushi village has been effectively ruled over by 3 old families called the Three Families. Oh, okay. Yeah, if the ritual was politically motivated, it was a fear tactic, not a celebration. Without investigating the 3 families, I probably won't get any closer to the truth of Onikakushi village. So 3 families. We now know that Mion's family is like a powerful family. Maybe the 3 families combined into that Sonozaki family, or the Sonozakis became the dominant family and the other 2 kind of became more obscured, or maybe eliminated by the curse. Scrapbook VII. The 3 families. The 3 families refer to 3 old families who effectively came to rule Onikakushi village. To break it down, there was the Kimiyoshi family, the Furude family, and the Sonozaki family, and each of them still exists today. Furude and Kimiyoshi. Those 2 names. Like, I know I should know those names. So one of them is Rika's. Like, Furude, is that because it's the Furude shrine? So, like, they're the priest family. And Kimiyoshi. Is that... Sokono? Is that... No, I don't know. Kimiyoshi, I know I should know that. Though they don't have as much control as they did in the Roman past, they still hold considerable influence today. The 3 families are considered by legend to be those in whom the blood of the swamp demons runs the thickest. The Kimiyoshi family. The Kimiyoshi family appears to have held great power at the head of the 3 families, but it doesn't have the kind of leadership today. The current mayor of the village, Kakuchiro Kimiyoshi, is from this family. The fact that the members of the Kimiyoshi family are elected as mayor every generation is thought to be a remnant of the old system. Of course, he was at the food tasting. Of course, as no rival candidates appear, it doesn't change the fact that the Kimiyoshi family holds the mayoral office even though through popular elections in the post-war era. The Furude family. The center of the village's faith since ancient times, the Furude clan has guarded the sole shrine dedicated to Oishiro-sama. They were worshipped as the only people to represent the voice of Oishiro-sama for a long time, but the family branched off after the war and lost most of its power, and now consists of only the main house. The main house, as well, presently consists of only one daughter, Rika Furude, so the lineage may end in this generation. There is apparently an old tradition in honoring females of the Furude family, so the only daughter, like Rika, is subject to much respect among the elderly of the village. The Sonozaki family. Yeah, it's said that the family has a certain police-like role in protecting the religious precepts of Onikakushi village. Of the 3 families, their relatively weak position can be seen from me putting them here last. Of course, today the Sonozaki family is flourishing, and the state of affairs among the 3 families is completely reversed. Even now, one could say that they are in control of Hinamizawa. The 3 families conferring with each other is similar to the old way. The current head of the Sonozaki family, Oryu, essentially decides all the goings-on in the village by herself. So that's the grandma's name, Oryu. Crazy. Yeah, we're getting a lot more interesting information than we had in the first chapter. Like, we're learning, like, some of, like, the functionaries of the system. Alright, late night phone call.
夜分遅くに失礼いたします。君吉と申しますが、ご主人でいらっしゃいますか？
Is this the head of the household? Wait, Kimiyoshi. Wait, so that, yeah, no, this is the phone call we had, but like the voice is like an old person. It sounded like a young girl.
はい。いえいえ、その説は本当にありがとうございます。ええ、それでですね、こんな時間に大変恐縮なのですが、うちのおじいちゃんがお邪魔してないかと思いまして。ですよね。はい。こんな時間にそれでは失礼いたします。
What?
ごめんください。
What? Click.
どうだい？ダメ？
Why did it sound like a young girl? What the fetch?
参ったな。どんなに熱中しても電話くらいはしてくれる人なんだけれどな。
Huh.
囲碁の人の家は全部電話したんでしょ？
Bring.
はい、君吉です。
園崎です。どうです？村長さんは見つかりましたか？
Oh, the mayor's missing.
ああ、ミオンちゃんか。片っ端から電話をかけてみたけど、ダメだよ。見つからないんだ。参ったな。どこで油を売ってるのかな。
こっちでも心当たりにいろいろと問い合わせましたけど、全然。ばっちゃんにも相談したんですが、青年団を招集して探し回った方がいいだろうということです。
こんな時間にかい。それに別に行方不明になったと決まったわけでもないし。
綿流しの直後ですから、少し慎重に扱った方がいいとのことです。
Right.
それでも見つからないなら、明朝警察に通報しましょう。
Weird. They're actually like looking for someone. So if someone's gone missing, it looks like this is out of their jurisdiction somehow.
見つかる見つからないは別にして、痛くない腹を探られない方がいいでしょうから。
お嬢さんがそう言ったのかい。
はい。直接声を聞かないと信用できないなら、電話先に出させますよ。
いえ、わかりました。青年団を集めて探しましょう。それで見つからなければ、翌朝に警察に通報します。
青年団の連絡もよろしくお願いしますね。私もバッチャの代行ということで、そちらに参ります。
ありがとう。すぐにみんなを集めます。
Interesting.
ええ。では。
What the heck is going on? So the mayor's missing. Mion is definitely like in the power structure, but like it's not clear cut that everyone just follows her without question. What the fetch? My gosh. Okay. So chapter 2 is looking insane. It really feels like it's building up a lot of new information now. Holy cow. And yeah, things are events are very clearly different. Like up until now, I could think that it was like overlapping of two things, but like ever since the whole like trip to the warehouse, like things have been very different, and now it's like very clearly super different. So yeah, my whole theory about them being overlaid on top of each other, very wrong. I wonder how it's going to explain why the events are so different between the two chapters. I'm guessing subsequent chapters as well. I guess we'll have to see. It's very interesting indeed. I'm going to think about this. I imagine there's a lot of information that like went right past me that I didn't catch that was really important. I think there's things that I caught that maybe just don't mean much yet, but I think they might eventually. And then just overall, the insanities again too. Like I was convinced for a while that that was Mion on the phone, but now I'm not so sure because like the way Shion was acting, it did sound more like Shion. So, what's up with that? I don't know. Very, very interesting. Well, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be odd knowing like what we've seen now and how are things gonna play out. Now that I know that all bets are off and I have no clue how this chapter ends, except for like, I imagine there's gonna be some consistencies. Like, I'm guessing the same people who were dead at the end of the first chapter are gonna be dead at the end of this chapter. But maybe the events leading to that state of affairs is going to be different. And then what about Shion? Where's Shion going to be in all this? I don't know. And what was with the voice changing on the phone? Like, why did the person on the other end of the phone sound so different? Like, I wasn't going crazy there, right? Like, I'm going to listen to that again when I edit. Like, I'm not going mad, am I? Because it was the same voice lines, but it was clearly two different people doing the voices? Was it a voice changer, or was that supposed to be some of the mystical curse type stuff that's going on that's somehow messing with things? I just don't know. I don't know. It's weird. It's really, really weird. But guess we'll see. Also, playing Go, like the mayor playing Go, sounds like he plays Go with like Keiichi's dad. So maybe Keiichi's parents are more involved in all of this than we realized. I mean, they moved here for a reason, I'm guessing. Maybe kind of like Rena's family. They were a family that like traditionally grew up in the village, left the village, but ended up coming back. And so like, what's all that about? Like, so weird. I'm gonna have to think about this one, but thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel, especially for patrons and members. You were wonderful. We had a new person recently join. However, because YouTube's wonderful and super, super works, I didn't get a single notification that somebody else had joined. So they should be in the thank you card for this video. If they're not, it's because I'm still trying to hear back from them and see if they want a specific name. Otherwise, I'm just going to default to whatever their name is on YouTube. But thank you so much for joining as a patron and member of the channel. Remember, if you ever join, like the biggest things you get is I kind of work with the direct patrons and members to kind of cultivate a list of like options to vote on when we get to moving on to a new series. So like the Friday series is the Fan Friday series, and so what we're playing currently, Chaos Head, was voted on by the community, and when we finish that, we'll do another poll where we're gonna vote, make usually 3 or 4 choices, and everyone gets the vote. But the list of the top 3 or 4 is based primarily on the suggestions that are made on the Discord channel and the public channel, and then usually I do a miniature poll, or at least I try and get some opinions from the patrons and members there, and kind of whittle down a list of hopeful games that I want to play. That's like around 6 or 7. That's based on like the community suggestions, and then we kind of whittle it down to 3 or 4, usually 3. But yeah, so if you're listening to this and you became a patron, make sure that you reach out to me if you haven't been given the access to that on the Discord. I'll verify that that you should have access to it, and then I'll make sure to get it to you. Just because the YouTube system is so broken that it doesn't tell me when someone is signing up to be a member for the channel, doesn't mean you shouldn't have access to all the perks that you should have access to. But yeah, don't worry too much about that. If you're watching this video, you're more than supporting me, so like don't fret. Like, I don't want anyone feeling pressured or like they're missing out on anything. It's just I also just want to make sure that if people are supporting me directly, that there's a way that they can be more involved in the back end of things on the channel. So it's kind of that's the whole motivation there. Anyway, enough about that. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel for this. It's a very stressful trip into the Higurashi series. Let's see how we do for next time. But until next video, watching me up and seeing me next. I'll see you there.